What's this logo, retired in 1958, doing in the box of a 1960 radio? This Sony box was definitely not intended to be kept this long. It's much too thin for that. No real structure to it except as provided by the styrofoam inside. Other than that, it is little more than heavy paper. But it's stylish paper. By 1960, when Sony made this box, they had gotten quite efficient at making an impression with as little resource use as possible. We see that they are still using up some of the old stock of cleaning cloths. These had the old Sony logo on them that Sony had officially ceased using 2 years prior, in 1958. The bag has that old logo too, and that word transistorized that was a bit passé by 1960. The bag contains the radio's earphone and external antenna wire. In that front section, labeled on the box, contains accessory, misspelled by the way, you would usually find the radio's thin leather case. This example is just as it was when I got it, with the case actually on the radio. But I believe the case would have originally been folded or rolled up and in that accessory compartment. This radio, the TRW-621, was one of the first Sony products to be distributed in America by Sony, by the newly formed Sony Corporation of America, established in February of 1960. Until then, virtually all companies outside the United States wanting to sell in the U.S. had used agents and importers to distribute their goods. Sony's arrangement with Delmonico as distributor soured in late 1959, and rather than seek another such arrangement, they decided, against all advice, to go it alone. In February 1960, they leased office space at 514 Broadway in New York City and went at it. Sony Corporation of America's first offices in that building occupied less space than a 2-car garage. Now let's look at styrofoam. Oh, and the model number is molded into the front of it. Nice! And here is yet another piece of plastic, this one saying Sony, 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 all over it. And now the radio, with the case on it. In the transistor radio's golden age, many manufacturers put out models with built-in watches, usually with an alarm feature that let the little radio be used as a clock radio. Usually these watches were mechanical, wind-up types, and that is what we find here in Sony's little watch radio. Sony didn't just source a cheap watch and put their name on it, as some would have done. Instead, they contracted with a name-brand watchmaker. Now, this was not a name we would have known much in 1960 America, but a name we would be hearing much more of in the following years: Seiko. Was this Sony the first clock radio that would fit in your pocket? I don't know. Maybe. Here's the switch that controls the alarm function. Auto mode for the alarm, manual for normal use. The wire stand on this model isn't also a handle as it was on other contemporary Sony models. It didn't swing all the way up to the top for carrying. A thumb screw helps to hold on the back. We see the unusual placement of the antenna rod along the bottom, made necessary, of course, by having the watch at the top. Sony's little battery clips had their simple and effective 4-letter Sony logo on them. This was the logo that replaced the old one in 1958, and is roughly the same as the one still in use today. 1958, just 2 years prior to this radio, was also the year the company's name was officially changed from Tokyo Shushin Kogyo Limited to Sony.